Hi there and welcome back to the Gear4music studio. My name is Rick and today I am joined by Joe from Teenage Engineering and we're checking out the brand new Medieval sampler. It's got a lot of different features and it looks very different as well in comparison to the K.O., which was again another sampler that was very popular, came out quite recently. But let's jump into it. Let's check out the Medieval.
The Medieval is very much like the K.O II. It's got its own samples, etc., but they're all themed in the Medieval style. Very TE, very wacky. They are really quite different. It's got a few different effects. It's got an arpeggiator, which is very different to the K.O., which has the chop function. But there are a lot of similarities and then a lot of differences. The main premise, the workflow is all the same. And so to pick it up and use it, if you're used to the K.O., it's like reading the back of your hand.
Yeah. And you were telling me this was conceived in quite a different way, the idea behind it.
Yeah, so Jesper from the CEO of Teenage Engineering based in Sweden, he lives in the old city in Stockholm, and when he walks to work every day, he goes past all the medieval tourist shops and he's got all the lovely architecture around him. And he was just walking one day and thought, why don't we make the world's first medieval-inspired synthesizer? So here it is.
What an idea. Yeah, that sounds very cool. Yep. So we've also got the pocket operators here, which is where they were kind of conceived originally, and they've obviously jumped up quite a bit from there, yeah?
Yeah, so obviously the pocket operators were the first kind of style of this kind of sampler composer kind of thing. We had some weird ones like The Office, we had the Rick and Morty, and now we've got the K.O., which was the big brother of the K.O., the original pocket operator, and the Teenage Engineering basically wanted to do the same thing and go a bit wacky with the EP series, and now we have the Medieval.
That's amazing. So it is called the Medieval, and it does look quite different to the K.O. as well. So I'm guessing it has different sounds as well?
Of course, it has medieval-inspired percussion, other drums. We've got horns, we've got strings, we've got lyres, we've got chanting, choirs, that kind of thing. Even some wacky sounds like some mooing cows and that kind of stuff. People's heads being chopped off. So they've really gone all out on it.
So I suppose if you're going to be doing like a game of Dungeons and Dragons, you could really kind of make a soundscape
100%.
Using this thing.
100%. And you don't even have to make your own thing. They've got inbuilt demos as well. So for people who just want to create their own like little live soundscape, they can easily do it.
Amazing. So let's check out some of the sounds.
So in Group A, we've got a bunch of percussion. So some bass drums. We've got some snares and tom-like things. We've got more deep toms. So really quite dark and hard-hitting. In B, we've got some playable instruments. In fact, this is one playable instrument. It's the strings, which are multi-samples, so depending on the pitch. Quite nice. Group C, bass sample, and then in Group D, random stuff. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but
is it a babbling brook? Or
I don't know. It's a witch's pot.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So yeah, it does have your medieval sounds, but it also has kind of normal sampler kind of sounds as well.
Exactly, yeah. You can upload your own sounds. You can using the EP Sample Tool app. So you can treat it like your own beat-making device, just in a medieval look to it.
Okay, so yeah, we're kind of doing a cross of genres. We're going to have the next medieval dance track coming out.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So the Medieval is the new model, but it's also got quite a few different upgrades from the K.O. as well, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's got a couple new effects. Some of the punching effects have been updated. We've got a new arpeggiator function, which is really, really cool. Some of the punching effects have been adjusted, such as the level on the K.O II is a lot softer and sounds a bit more natural to the genre. We've got a new drunk punching effect, which is really, really cool.
Do you want to check that out?
Okay, of course. If I play a demo. And then obviously with the level being changed, so we don't have a bit crush anymore. It's more of a bit like a gate, a bit like a truck. So if I, so that's the new level. So there are some small differences in the effects, and then obviously the effects engine is quite different as well with the reverb. And we've got two new effects. We've got an ensemble and a dimension expander.
Okay. So these ensemble, what is that kind of sound? Very quirky and it's very different. It's very teenage engineering, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
So the sounds are obviously very different and they sound really great as well. So I'm guessing the team must have gone through a lot to capture these samples?
Yeah, so the design team and the people behind that took about 2 to 2.5 years of just like concept, research, figuring out what and who they can record from traditional instrument players for people playing like lyres, lutes, that kind of thing, to orchestras, to big choirs, to absolutely everything. And so that it was just figuring out what they wanted to do, but then also the process of actually recording it to a really high standard. For example, on some of the sounds, we have multi-sampling across the keyboard. So you get different pitches, or different pitches have different tonality to them, which really just, I think, emphasizes the effort that went into those 2.5 years.
Exactly. The other thing I'm really excited about, as you were saying before, is the arpeggiator. Do you want to check that out?
Of course. So if I find a sound that I'm really liking, so we'll go with this trumpet. If I enable it press the keys function, which is now called claves. So I've got it across the keyboard. If I hold quantum, you'll see that we've got the quantization setting, which I've set to eighth triplet notes. Now, while it's very much like a punching effect, you hold it and then you press the notes that you want to do. So here, if I just do that, and it will just immediately start an arpeggiator. And then the more notes you add, you can take and or you can put more notes in, you can take more notes out. Whilst you're playing it, it will just fill it in.
Okay. That's very cool.
Yeah, and you also have in the settings of it, so using the encoders, you can change the quantization range, and then also on certain ones like the 16th notes, you can adjust the swing. So you can, if you want a bit more swing, you can do that.
Amazing. So the arpeggiator itself, it's just available on the Medieval?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So it's a little bit of difference. And there's some differences in some of the effects as well, is that right?
That's correct. So some of the effects that are inbuilt on the K.O II have been slightly modified to have more of a medieval tone to them. So the delay is now called an echo to kind of fit more with that style. It's a bit darker. And same with the reverb as well, which we can check out.
Cool, let's have a listen.
So if I just play like a snare and then just change the length. So you won't get as short of a delay as you will on the K.O. So if you bring it all the way to the left, I think it will be really quite short and almost like a phaser.
Yeah.
Whereas you won't get that on here. It's quite a lot longer if I go all the way. And then feedback is quite high. And it will start self-oscillating a little bit as well.
Cool. The sounds are a little bit more gritty as well. They kind of sound, obviously, more to the medieval kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly that. And the reverb's just the same. So in this case, it's quite dark. So it's quite filtered. If I go maximum, just reverb.
That's very cool. So you've got such an array of different sounds that you can get pretty much on every single sound setting on the unit.
Exactly.
So I've heard that there's something really special about the buttons on the medieval, or the brown buttons in particular.
Yes, so they smell like chocolate.
I see, chocolate. Yeah.
So the story goes that the medieval era has got three main brown things of the time. One, the medieval era itself, one that goes out of you, and one that goes in you. So they chose the most palatable option,
yes.
Which is why we now have chocolate smelling buttons.
Okay, that's really cool.
And another one of the really cool features as well, which is applicable to the K.O II, is it's also Lego Technic compatible. So you can customize the knobs, you can add things to the side and make little platforms for it. So if you want to make your own Lego DIY Technic stand.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's very customizable and you can just make it your own.
Exactly.
So the last thing I'd like to point out is actually the box and the packaging itself. So the K.O II came with a box with Muhammad Ali on it, quite a modern thing. This is a more medieval looking. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's still it's the same sort of format as the K.O II, obviously with their own custom medieval style of a man or a woman, probably I think it's a woman. Instead of playing something like a lute, it's playing the new EP-1320.
That's really cool. So there you have it. There is the Teenage Engineering Medieval. And thank you so much, Joe, for joining us in this journey back in time.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. As always, if you have any more questions about this, leave it in the comments below. More information is available on the Teenage Engineering website and also on the Gear4music website. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as for me, my name is Rick. This is Joe. We'll see you next time.